thank you very much for being willing to share your story with other people that have a jitterbug.
And thank you for inviting me to do that.
Well, the wellness calls are really designed to be helpful on a daily basis. Teach you techniques. You never know when they're going to be helpful. For example, what happened when you were in the hospital, you're able to utilize the techniques. But just share a little bit about the value, the benefits of getting your jitterbug wellness calls. What difference has it made?
The wellness calls could be answered in 3 ways. And I sort of kept track of what I was doing and what I was thinking, and my answers were usually positive. Once in a while I had one that was not quite so positive, but they brought me back to where I needed to be.
Right. And those questions are in every call. How you feeling? What's your stress level? How you sleeping?
Yes.
Questions that are relevant to you.
And to everybody that has a phone.
And then based on your answers, you get a particular technique that hopefully will be helpful right away and long term. And were those techniques things that you could practice right during the call, so you'd actually find your own special spot? Or how did you do that?
I would go outside and stand under the palm tree, and it seemed to be very clear right there, and I would listen and respond, and I hope that...
Take time for you, take time for yourself.
And take time just to regroup.
Right, recharge.
How are you feeling today? How did you sleep last night? What's going on in your world? And so it was a good few minutes for me to take.
Yeah, and I hope that it was a positive learning experience. Learn something new. The technique's never repeated, so you got a new technique every time.
That's right.
And were you able to go through that, the visualization or the relaxation, the breathing? Could you go through those techniques in every call and actually practice right then and there?
Yes.
So there was a benefit right away.
Yes. And I didn't have to change anything. I didn't have to change the way I breathe. I accepted it as it was.
Beautiful.
And I learned later in my experience, and I hope the experience never happens to anybody else, but I had brain surgery twice in close succession, and then I had a stroke about 4 months later, and I was helped to think more positively during all of that episode. And then about a year later I had encephalitis, and my surgeon told me that I probably would never walk again, and that if I did, I would fall to the right. And I went in his office the first time in a wheelchair, and the second time in with a walker. And it was a very touching feeling for me to say, I know that I'm going to walk again.
And you do now.
And I do now.
Unassisted. Now, would you recommend the jitterbug wellness calls to other people?
I would, because I think that I had some assistance that nobody else had when I was in the hospital with brain surgery. Because people would come in and they'd say, how are you getting through this? How are you, do you pray a lot? What are you doing? And I was almost ashamed to say, I don't pray a lot. But I did breathe a lot.
And you were using the techniques from your calls?
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you very much for being here and inviting me to share.